Hey everybody, welcome to the latest episode of 312, the HRP Podcast. This is our Plymouth, Massachusetts office episode. So, we divide 312 into a work hard section and a play hard section. And on this episode, we're going to be combining both of them, and the whole episode will be available as a video on our YouTube channel. For those of you out there listening, you can still hear the whole thing here on whatever podcasting platform of your choice that you have chosen to listen to us on. But don't forget that you can join us on HRP's YouTube channel to check out the full thing. All right, we'll see you over there. Everybody, welcome to another episode of 312, the HRP Podcast. This time, we're in our Plymouth Math. Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of 312, the HRP Podcast. We are in our Plymouth, Massachusetts office, talking to Bryan Massa, the regional manager here. We're going to tell you all about the exciting stuff that Massachusetts office is going to do, the work that we had, Bryan's history, both work and personal, and we'll give you a sense of what's going on up here, what you have to look forward to in the many years to come with our HRP office here, one of which will be many trips to the Sandwich, Mass location for Treehouse. I'm drinking a Milky Julius here. Return to form here on the 312 pod, getting some good brews in. You've been to this brewery before, right?
I actually have not visited this particular one.
You're not much of a beer guy, though, right? You're more of a...
I'll have an occasional beer here and there. I'm more of a vodka and gin type person.
Yeah. What can you tell us about the glass that we're drinking out of here?
So the beer mug that you're drinking out of is actually from MAMA, which is an organization I hold dear to heart here. It's the Massachusetts Airport Managers Association. HRP is a sponsor of that organization, and they're a great group of all of the airport managers in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure as we talk a little bit more, people will come to understand why that's such an important relationship. I think first we can talk about kind of your work history prior to joining HRP. Give us a little bit of your background and maybe kind of lead us into how you ended up becoming a part of the team here.
I've been doing environmental consulting work for a little over 25 years. I've worked all over the United States and in Mexico. Over the last 15 years or so, I've focused my work in the Northeast, primarily Massachusetts and New York. A lot of the work that we do is heavy remediation type projects, investigation, subsurface investigation, environmental due diligence, and litigation support. Some of the projects have been manufactured gas plant remediation, and now we're doing a lot of PFAS type work.
Did you know this was something you always wanted to do, or did you kind of find it later on? Like, how was this? What was your route to becoming like kind of a geologist-centered person?
So when I was in high school, there was some environmental classes that were offered in my senior year. Hadn't really been exposed to it at all. Took those classes just because I needed the electives, and really enjoyed them. So when it came time for me to decide what I wanted to do with my career, I decided that I wanted to do environmental engineering. So I went to school for environmental engineering, and that's kind of what started off my career in the environmental world.
Mm-hmm. So now you are a big part of what makes HRP now, and this office is now one of our big locations in the HRP regional family of spaces. So let's talk a little bit about finding this space, finding the right space. Can you tell us a little bit about the journey that we went on to end up here for our Massachusetts office?
Sure. So Plymouth is kind of a pretty key location in Massachusetts for a couple of reasons. Plymouth is about an hour south of Boston. So Boston's our big metropolitan area. Plymouth's a pretty easy drive to get out there. We're also an hour away from Providence, Rhode Island. We're also about an hour away from New Bedford, which is another pretty big area around here. And we're also, striking distance to Cape Cod, we're the next town before you get to the Cape. The reason that this office was primarily chosen is over the last, 8 years or so, I've I've focused a lot of the work on Cape Cod. A lot of our clients are on Cape Cod, so this location made sense where it's so close to the city, so close to Cape Cod and other areas.
Was this the first location that you thought of, that you looked at?
So this is actually the second location. Both locations were on Court Street. They were both in downtown. The first location that we had looked at ended up going under agreement before we could secure that location. Actually worked out for the best because this location is great. It wasn't on my radar at first. It actually became available right after we started looking at the first location, so it was kind of fate. We checked out this location and loved it. It's a really cool building.
Yeah.
This building's pretty old. It's from the 1700s. It's in a great downtown location, the restaurants and bars. So it was a good spot to be.
So we talked a little bit about what makes this location unique. What are some of the things that really stick out to you about the building itself?
So the buildings is pretty cool. It's got an interesting footprint. It has really interesting architecture. The moldings that are in the building are really ornate, kind of indicative of, that time period. It's probably been updated 1800s, 1900s, and you can kind of see throughout the building there's some really, really interesting, type of molding. You see fireplaces and kind of throughout. It was a pretty cool building, and it made sense that that this would be kind of a unique building, has some unique character, and just kind of fit the mold for what I thought would be a good location for our office.
Yeah, it really does have a lot of character to it. It's a really, I think it really communicates kind of what we're looking for in terms of HRP's kind of Massachusetts location, especially because it's such a good fit for Plymouth in general. I think it really speaks to the kind of look and feel of a place that you would expect to find in this location.
Yeah, I mean, I thought too it would be a great place to work. We're a block away from the ocean. The Mayflower and Plymouth Rock is a 5-minute walk away. There's shops and restaurants. So I thought that it would be a place where people would want to work. You can go and grab lunch at 15, 20 different places. There's, coffee shops and restaurants and, all kinds of good entertainment venues, live music, all sorts of things going on in this area that I thought would make it an exciting place to work, and hopefully a place that people would want to work.
So speaking of who works in the Mass office currently, can you kind of take us through the roster there?
Currently, we have 5 people. We just added the 5th person yesterday. So the Massachusetts office originally started off with myself, and then we hired Andrew Bushman. He's our senior field staff. He's got 20 years of experience doing field work. Then we brought on Sutherland. She was actually from the Connecticut office and had moved down to Providence, which again is it's within an hour away from this office. So she does a lot of the field work and helps support some of the stuff that Andrew's doing. About 6 months ago, we hired Grant. Grant's our senior project manager, professional geologist. He's bringing 30 years of environmental site assessment and remediation experience to the fold. And then just yesterday, we hired a GIS and field staff person to kind of help round out our group.
And can you tell us a little bit more about kind of the big specialties you see in that group that you think bring a lot of value, like some of the individual experience and specializations that they have?
Sure. So the Massachusetts office really focuses on site assessment, remediation, environmental due diligence, and litigation support. And then there's some subgroups of that. My career has focused a lot on manufactured gas plant remediation, PFAS, obviously kind of the new type of contaminant, as well as a lot of the other typical, petroleum hydrocarbons, chlorinated solvents. But over the last, I'd say 6-7 years or so, PFAS has kind of become a major part of the work that we do. And we've been getting involved in PFAS forensics, investigation, remediation, So that's kind of been a big driver for this office and has kind of become one of our specialties, and we've become well known in this area for doing that type of work.
Yeah. What would you say are the big concerns, the work that needs to be done in that HRP services or can service?
PFAS is ubiquitous. It's in a lot of products that we use.
So PFAS was first synthesized in 1938, became pretty widely used around the 50s. When about do we see firefighting foam become a commonly used item in airports, at airports?
So the firefighting foam came in use in the early 1960s, invented by the Navy, then kind of made its way, from there. Certificate airports would use firefighting foam to train with in the event of an emergency. It's the go-to fire suppression method for petroleum-based fires, which is why airports would use it if there was an aircraft accident. Military developed it for those purposes as well. It's great at extinguishing fires, but there's PFAS in it.
So you've done all kinds of town halls kind of throughout the area to kind of let people know what's going on with certain sites that you're currently working on. Have you ever gotten any questions from folks there that afterwards you were like, I didn't really like my answer there? Is there anything that you think you would want to kind of amend to that or add to it?
Not that I'm aware. I try to, if I don't know the answer to a question, I won't answer it. I'll kind of say that that's something I need to look into and get back to you. A lot of the town hall stuff that I'm doing, the questions are very pointed and focused and specific to a particular project that I'm working on. Those questions are pretty easy to answer because I'm in the weeds on those projects and kind of know the answer to them. But if there was a certain type of question, if somebody asked me something about, PFAS toxicology, something that wouldn't necessarily be my specialty, then I would say, well, I would need to, get back to you on that and kind of talk to that type of person. But the town halls that I've done, all of the questions have been very, very specific. We tend to do our town halls as not just a presentation, as more of a Q&A to kind of give the public a chance to ask questions. And, we try to answer them in such a way that, is taking complex data and presenting it in kind of a manner that's understandable, because PFAS is pretty complex.
Yeah. Have you ever had any questions at one of those where you're like, wow, that was a really good question?
There's a lot of good questions that people ask. When you get into the weeds on something, it's sometimes you're hyper focused on certain things and you kind of forget that there may be, something that's, you may not necessarily go into full detail on because you're in the weeds on it and you know the answer, but someone in the public, doesn't know the answer to that. I'd say the answers that we've gotten for the most part are like really good questions. The people on the Cape are pretty informed with what's going on, and ask good questions.
Yeah. And if anybody wanted to watch those, where would they be able to kind of find some of them that you've done before that have been recorded?
So public access. Town of Barnstable, I've done a lot for the town of Barnstable. They're channel 18. So I think if you go to the town of Barnstable's website and you type in channel 18, you can find, all the pre-recorded town hall type meetings. I've done them in Truro as well. I'm not sure what Truro's public access TV is, but they are recorded and put out to the public.
Yeah.
So I assume that that's something that can be watched as well.
So that's a big part of what the office does here. But of course, it's not the only thing, but it will be a huge part of what we do going forward here. Where do you expect to see the Massachusetts office growing in both the short term and the long term? What do you think the future is going to hold for it here?
So I think a lot of the work that Massachusetts is focusing on right now is PFAS related. We tend to have a lot of that type of work going on in the area. Also manufactured gas plant type work. That's been one of my specialties for a long time. Manufactured gas plants are a legacy type of contaminated site related to coal tar and cyanide from back in the days of gas streetlights and manufactured gas. We're starting to see kind of an uptick in that type of work again, which is good. So I think that, the Massachusetts office will be focusing a lot on utility-related work, manufactured gas plant type work, PFAS investigation, remediation, and then I think a lot of litigation type of work where you see these sites that are very complicated and you have, multiple PFAS plumes and multiple responsible parties, kind of trying to figure out who's responsible for what. We tend to call that cost allocation. Who's responsible for this part of the plume and what's their contribution to it. So those are kind of some of the things that I can see Massachusetts, doing more of, and we tend to get a lot of that type of work. And then typical due diligence type of work too with a lot of our developer clients.
Awesome. So we talked a lot about the Mass office, the work that it does. Let's talk a little bit more about you. So we'll move into the Play Hard section where we get to know the people a little bit better, not just the work that they do. We talked a little bit about what you drink already. Let's talk about family, hobbies. What's the home life like?
So home life's pretty busy. I have 4 children. I got 2 dogs to throw in the mix, so it's a busy house. I'm very excited. I've got my 2 oldest are one of them's in college. She's in her second year. And my second oldest is starting college next year at Mass Maritime. He's accepted there, so we're excited about that. That's a local college. My daughter's going to the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, which is great.
Yep.
My 2 younger ones are still a little bit a ways from going to college, but they keep us busy with their sports and other things. My kids are into soccer, dirt bike riding. That's kind of one of our big type of things. Not so much for me anymore. I'm a little bit older now, and I've injured myself too many times doing it, so I don't really do the dirt bike riding anymore. But
you big into it though? Back in the day?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My kids are really into it too. All of my kids know how to ride dirt bikes and have ridden dirt bikes. My son is still really, really into it and likes to go to the track. That's one of the reasons why we actually moved to Plymouth is there's a lot of dirt bike riding opportunities around here, lots of trails. So that's been pretty fun. The kids have enjoyed growing up here. The school system here is great. Again, another reason why it made sense to have an office here. I think Plymouth is just a really great town, great location to be, great school system.
So we talked about dirt biking as a hobby. What else? So now that you're kind of out of that world, what's keeping you busy other than work and kids?
So my wife and I like to go hiking. So we spend a lot of time up in New Hampshire. We try to go on some of the larger, hikes, 4 or 5 hour hikes, bring the kids along. Kids love to do that as well. So we do trips to New Hampshire, like to be outdoors, love to camp. I think the kids don't love to camp so much anymore. We've always done, the tenting aspect to it, not the camper or get in like a house, but tend to like to do the tent and stuff. And I think my kids are over that.
Well, we got 6 people coming on this trip. How many tents we got?
Probably 5.
Okay, so somebody. Okay, well, you and the wife are obviously
Yep.
Up. Yeah.
The kids go back and forth. Like sometimes, my youngest ones. They'll sometimes want to like room together. Older ones tend to, do their own thing. It's kind of been all over the place. When we first started doing it, we had like a giant tent and everyone was together, and then it's, kind of changed over time. But we like to do like the remote camping. That's kind of one of our things. Like we're not going to go to like the regular campground type place. We kind of go to the rural, no facilities type place, which is probably why my kids aren't too super into it anymore.
Absolutely, yeah. So we talked about you, but let's talk now about Plymouth. What makes Plymouth a great place to be?
Sure. So I actually live in Plymouth. We moved here about 10 years ago, and it's a good location. I love the water. It's on ocean, we're a block away from the ocean here, fun things to do. But the reason that actually brought us here was the school system. Plymouth has a really good school system, and that was important to us. We wanted the kids to have, access to a really good education. And the Plymouth Public Schools have some great programs here. They do a combination of college prep and tech. So it's basically a vote. Half your day is vote technical based, and the other half is regular classroom based. So the kids are exposed to trades, so that they can make the decision on, do they want to go to college? Do they want to go into the workforce? Mm-hmm. And it's been excellent. My son is a senior. He's been doing the HVAC program since he was a freshman. He's on co-op now, so he goes to a job 3 days a week and does HVAC work. He got his refrigerant license through school, so he goes out and does that, and kind of sees what it's like to work, which is good. Hands-on experience to kind of see what things are like when you become an adult.
Yeah.
So that's been great. My daughter did the biomedical program, which was a specialty type program that the school did. So those are the reasons that kind of brought us here. Mm-hmm. A little bit different than some of the other options that are around.
Yeah. And as we kind of talked about in the tour, we are well positioned in this office location for food, for drink. Can you call out some of what you think are the best restaurants, food spots around the office here in Plymouth?
Absolutely. So Speedwell Tavern is probably one of my favorites. They have the best wings I've ever had. Nice local bar, live music, great people. It's a small place. Food's fantastic. Have never had a bad meal there. That's probably, the go-to spot. Right across the street is Koji. Great spot. They've got sushi and ramen. There's a great Mexican place right down the street, Anejo. There's just, you name it, it's within a 5-minute walk from here. So that was part of another reason why this location was so good. Is that I like to come downtown. I've lived here for a while. This is kind of the place to be, to have the option. So it was good.
Mm-hmm. We also have what I believe is a good bagel sandwich place with a fantastic name.
Gunther Tootie's is diagonal to us. They are really, really good. I definitely go over there a couple times a week and get some coffee and get a bagel in the morning. There's lots of good places here. There's lots of stores, so we can kind of support the local community, which is another reason why I wanted to be down here, is to support the other small businesses that are in the area.
Yeah. Well, I think we've got a pretty good idea of what the Plymouth, Massachusetts office is like, what it has to offer. For people listening, why don't we, at least at the moment, talk about what positions are available for folks if they would be interested in working here?
So the Plymouth office is definitely growing. I think this specific location was chosen to have up to 15 people before we outgrew it. We're at 5 now. The office has been in the works for about a year and a half or so, and I'm hoping that over the next couple of years we'll get to that number. The staff that works here is pretty passionate about the work that we do. We're excited about the work. I enjoy what I do. I like coming to work. I think those are the type of individuals that that we're looking for. People who enjoy their work, who have a good understanding of site assessment remediation type work, which is really what we're focused in this office. We've got some really good senior staff to help train up some junior staff, so folks who are interested in kind of learning through our experience. This office with the 3 senior people have over 75 years of experience doing environmental work. So yeah, I think that the hope is that, over the next, couple of years, we'll get up to that, 15 people and then go from there.
All right, awesome. Well, folks, if that sounds good to you, you can check out the links below to see what we have on offer. And if you are a business in the Massachusetts area, make sure to get in touch with that same information down there. For those of you listening, make sure to rate us 5 stars on the podcasting platform of your choice. If you are watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, like, and subscribe for more. And until then, we'll see you next time. Bryan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
See everybody.
We'll see y'all.